Hey, welcome to another episode of Camping Camera. Today we've got a really cool DIY mod for your teardrop door. You don't want to miss this one, so stick around. Hey, welcome back everyone. I hope you have been doing great. Hope you've been enjoying your teardrop campers, getting them out in the wild and just enjoying nature. Here in East Tennessee, there's a coolness in the air. The leaves are turning colors. Matter of fact, they're getting pretty close to peak. Probably over the next, I'd say 8 to 10 days, they'll be at their peak. And I look forward to on upcoming episodes, show you where we're going and showing you some of these fall colors. But today, to get ready for our next trip, I'm going to solve a problem that I've had with my Camp Easy teardrop ever since I built the thing. About every other trip, sometimes every trip, but at least every other trip, when I'm out, opening the doors on the camper, I forget, and I just let them go, and they open too wide, and the rain gutter over top of the window ends up hitting the frame of the camper, and it bends the thing. And I've been meaning to, find a clever solution to fix that, to keep the doors from opening too much, and I just haven't been able to come up with anything. Well, on a recent trip, matter of fact, the last episode, we were at the Oconee State Park in South Carolina, and I ran into a good guy, Ed Whitcomb. He had like the best solution I've ever seen for restricting how far your camper door opens. He's put something on his camper that's like the most simple but the most ingenious thing ever was. I've been trying to find a way to keep my door from opening too far. And look at these straps. He took dog leashes and he made straps that keep the door from opening too much. That is absolutely brilliant. So that's one of the cool things about running into another DIY camper builder. Ed, thank you very much for showing that to me. And today I'm going to show you all my version of what Ed did on his camper. So let's get started. So the camper's in the garage right now. I can't swing the door all the way out. But you can see from the last trip, my rain gutter is just bent. I mean, it's just bent terribly on this side. I will be able to fix it, and I fixed it a few times before. It's just aggravating to have to do that. But what happens is when the door swings all the way out, the rain gutter is hitting the corner trim of the camper. So I just need a restrictor plate or a restrictor strap to keep that from happening. So here are the supplies for our project. I've just taken a piece of bar stock aluminum. This is some scrap I had laying around. It's about 1/4 inch thick and probably about 1 inch wide. I would like for it to maybe have been a little bit wider, but this is going to be just fine. Got some stainless steel screws. Didn't measure them, but they're probably, I don't know, probably about a number 10 screw by 1 inch long. And this is just a strap. Now, you can find these straps they come on little lunch boxes, soft-sided toolboxes, just all kinds of carrying cases. This is a scrap one I had laying around. The strap on it is pretty rigid, and it's about 1 1/4 inch, maybe 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to use this as my restrictor strap. So pretty basic materials list. I'm going to begin just by measuring the strap to make sure that I cut the piece of metal long enough to cover the whole thing. This happens to be 1.5 inches. This aluminum gets hot when you cut it, so I'm just going to pick it up with some pliers. Now, if you'll notice, whenever I cut it with my metal cutoff wheel, it kind of leaves a little bit of a messed up edge there. So I'm going to clean that up on my sander before I cut the next piece. Now I'm going to put a slot bevel on the end just to keep it from having a sharp edge. Alright, so we have all 4 pieces of aluminum in the water and cooling. those dudes were hot to the touch. Now we just need to go ahead and drill holes in them so we have a place to put the screws. I don't know that this is necessarily critical, but I'm going to go ahead and mark out the location of the 4 holes. I just want to see what they look like in pencil, just to make sure it's a nice square and nothing, you know, weird looking. And I'm actually glad I did that, because this one's a little far over. And I'll do this with a drill press for real. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We'll do the other 4. This is such a small piece, I'm using a C-clamp just to help hold it on the drill press. Now the aluminum gets scratched up a bit just from working on it. So I've got this little foam sanding block. It's a pretty fine grit. So I'm just going to rub the little bracket on there, just back and forth a few times, and that should give it somewhat of a brushed aluminum look. Yeah, cleaned up nicely. So now just need to finish up the other 3. So all 4 aluminum ends are now done. They're cut, they're drilled. I don't want to say they're polished, but they kind of got a brushed look. I could take the time to polish them, probably should, but to be honest with you, I really don't care. These look pretty good. And I've got the 4 screws for each one. So now it's time to cut the straps. So again, I'm just using a strap that came off of some kind of a little pouch or box. Now Ed Whitcomb said he used a dog collar. I thought that was a pretty good idea. And a dog collar would be fairly heavy duty. So I'm just going to cut this thing as best as I can on a 90-degree angle. And you see how it frays up a little bit? I'm going to take some heat and melt that end. So if you'll notice, I have this little bracket here that goes into this part on the door that just keeps the door from closing. Just holds the door in place, but it doesn't restrict how far the door opens. But I'm going to use that just to hold it in place, and also use it as a gauge for the straps that I'm going to put on. So right here you can see I can move the door back and forth a couple inches, but the catch on there is holding it in place. So now I have a gauge to be able to use to put the straps on. I've never been crazy about how these blind nuts look. I think I'm going to put the strap over this end blind nut and have it partially covering these 2, and then I'll bring it on around and I'll put the other little metal bracket right here so it'll cover up the blind nut in the middle. So that'll help me to camouflage at least part of this. That'll be great. See if I can get the first hole drilled. Alright, like I say, I'm in a little bit of a tough angle here, but I've just run a screw through this. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in that pilot hole that I've drilled. Screw this one a touch snug, but not fully screwed in. Alright, we drill the last 2 and we're done with this one. Alright, this one should be quite a bit easier. Now I can just pull the slack out and pull it around and pretty much just measure off where I want to cut it. And then of course I'll need to, burn the frayed end there. I guess I need that much flame. Alright, so I'm just going to lightly, well I need more than that, I'm going to lightly burn the end of this. I don't want to just completely melt it, I just want to Yeah, it's like a plastic-like substance. So all I'm going to do is just lightly burn the end of it, and it kind of is like a plastic that melts, and you kind of tuck it in place of your finger. That ought to be good. And drill the first hole. Just to keep it all together. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. Let's see how far it opens. It opens all the way that it hits. Imagine that. Okay, I'm going to jump forward just a little bit. Full disclosure, with the strap cut to that length, when I opened the door, the rain gutter actually still touched the camper. So what I did is I went back and I cut a little bit off the strap. I actually cut about the width of one of those little aluminum pieces off of it. And when I did that, now check this out. When I push the door open and let go, it has like a springy effect. You can still open it wide enough for the door keeper to keep the door held open, so that works good. But now when I'm getting out of this thing in the middle of the night, all I have to do is push it open, and I don't have to worry about it hitting the camper. This is going to solve so many problems and so many repairs coming home from these camping trips. And also, and I didn't plan it this way, but this black strap and this aluminum piece looks a lot better than those 3 blind nuts. So you may be wondering why I didn't just buy one of the pre-made door stops. I have seen people use them before, and actually, I'll have to say I did buy a set some time ago. I looked forever, and I can't remember if I got them off Amazon or eBay, but when they arrived, they ended up being like double the size of what the photograph showed. I mean, these things were like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches long. And if I would have put that on the side of the camper, I mean, besides looking bad, it would have been something just to, you know, jab your leg as you were walking by, and I didn't want that. So using Ed Whitcomb's tip of putting, I think he put like a dog leash or a dog collar on his. I just used the strap off of a bag that I had. Using this keeps the outside of the camper clean, and I did not expect the benefit of it having a little bit of a springy effect. And I like that because that'll help me close the door in the nighttime. So check that out. That's pretty handy. And I can still open it enough to engage the little latch that I have to keep it open if I need to. So yeah, this worked great. I don't know if this is a good reason, but another reason I'm glad to use those straps is that I did all of this hardware myself. Instead of buying a pre-made door latch system, and you can check this out on a previous episode, I just use these outdoor building latches, T-handles. So and I drilled a hole in them right here. So basically when you pull the door closed from the inside, you do that and it latches shut, and then you just got a little slide lock that holds it in place. It's DIY, didn't cost much, it's black, and now it matches this. So I think that ties it all together. It's a full-on DIY door.